Ahora sí, ahora sí. Esa cosa de esto, bueno. De todas maneras, igual me está ganando esto. Tengo que reiniciar. Bueno, ahora, hola 1, 2. Estoy probando un poco esto. Tenía instalado un mejorador de audio que me revolvió todo. Pero no puedo bajar el volumen ahora de la llamada con NASA, que es esa música que está saliendo. Si reinicio todo, pierdo la llamada con NASA. Tengo que llamar a nuevo. Ese es el problema. Hay que ver que el tema es que no tengo control sobre esa música que sale atrás, que es donde va a salir la voz de la conferencia. Bueno, faltan 7 minutos. Reinicio. Chau. Vamos arriba. F5 en 2 minutos.
Welcome to the Conference Calling Center. Please have your passcode and conference leader's name available. A coordinator will assist you momentarily.
Thank you for calling. May I have your passcode?
Oh yes, OPF. I was in the call, but I lost the call. Daniel Riguera is my name.
Daniel, spell your last name real quick for me.
Oh yes, Regueira.
And your affiliation real quick.
Ardron UI. Ardron DRONE UI.
Hold on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One moment.
Thank you. Bueno. Llegamos a tiempo. Llegamos a tiempo. Siempre me conecto 10-15 minutos antes, justamente por alguna cosa de estas. Todo nominal, dice Víctor Mateo. Paso a saludar ahora sí, como corresponde, ¿no? Rubén, que hace rato está allí, David Amengol, Rosana Chávez, María López, de Novilén, Rosa Sierra, gracias Rosa, Patuca, Chocaviglia,
OPF Briefing News Conference. Our event should begin momentarily. If you are also monitoring the event video,
Dorian,
the audio on your TV or computer and listen only to audio.
Javier Capochetti,
If you would like to ask a
Dian Music, Alejandro Moreira, Oscar Regato, Héctor González,
to be added to the queue. If you would like to withdraw your question, press star 2.
Albert de la Fuente,
Use a speakerphone when you are asking your question. Thank you.
Silvia Carolina FG, Nelson Isaurralde, Marco, Libardo Álvarez, Diego Corujo, Dani querido, dice Diego, un abrazo enorme a todos. Antonio López nos saluda desde Torre Cardela, Granada, Andalucía. José Ramírez, aquí reportándome con lluvia y todo. Buenísimo. Recuerden que cuando empiece la teleconferencia, nuestro audio va a estar adelantado. El audio va a estar adelantado con lo que vean en video, porque estamos conectados vía telefónica para poder hacer preguntas. Estamos acreditados como prensa. Entonces, el video sí viene por internet, pero el audio viene por línea telefónica. Entonces llegan bastante antes. Ricardo Holguín, desde Alfa Centauri. Muy buena su señal, estamos atentos, muchas gracias. José Ruiz desde Tarragona, Vila Seca. Un abrazo. Dani, ¿para cuándo una verbena? ¿Para cuándo una verbena? Dice, bueno, hace rato venimos insistiendo y ¿saben qué tienen que hacer? Ustedes ven los otros canales también, porque la mayoría compartimos los mismos suscriptores, muchos son los mismos. Bueno, tienen que escribirle a los otros. Y cuando digo los otros, digo Frontera Espacial, digo Darien se suma, ¿no? Siempre está. Digo Astronáutico, digo Ismael Fuente, digo Lili, y Marta, que está sumada también ahora, de Desorbitados. Escriban en sus canales, ¿sí?
Thank you for joining us for our briefing to discuss the outbound powered flyby burn that occurred 7:44 a.m. Eastern Time.
Bueno, esto para discutir lo que pasó hoy, justamente que encendieron los motores, el motor, para comenzar a insertar en la órbita lunar a Artemis, o sea, Orión. Mike Serafín, el gerente de Serafín, el gerente. Esta es Lea Cheshire, es la voz que estamos escuchando.
Thank you, Leah, and good afternoon. Thank you for continuing the follow the Artemis program and the Artemis 1 mission. Right now, we are setting up to orbit the moon. We had the big burn called the outbound powered flyby occur earlier today, and that was to date the largest propulsive event as Artemis is hunting the moon to accomplish the distant retrograde orbit in our stress test of the Orion spacecraft.
Bueno, estamos. Mike Serafín nos dice que estamos en la mitad de la misión. En la primera pata esta, o sea, la salida de órbita, y ahora van a hacer una cuando regrese un nuevo encendido. Eso va a ser el 25. Está haciendo una historia de todo lo que ha hecho la nave Orión, desde que despegaron hasta ahora. Bueno, aquí tenemos despegue, separación y soltada de la parte de la propulsión interina, encendido para entrar en órbita y luego hay otro encendido más para completar, que es el encendido de ingreso y el encendido de salida. Todo esto para lograr esta órbita que vemos acá. Bueno, después de estar una semana en órbita, lo que van a hacer es, en este punto, van a encender sus motores para regresar a la Tierra. Esto lo coloca en
key decision gates. We could adjust these if we need to, but on November 30th, we will meet to discuss departing the distant retrograde orbit, which is essentially reversing that two-maneuver sequence through bullets 12 and 13 on that mission map. And that sets up the distant retrograde departure on December the 1st, followed by the return-powered flyby on December the 5th.
El 5 de diciembre van a hacer este otro encendido acá, que esto ya los coloca casi en la salida, que tienen que hacer un nuevo encendido acá. Bueno, la Marina es quien recupera la cápsula. El 8, la recuperación va a ser el 8. In combination with the U.S. Navy, and we'll pick a landing site out in the Pacific, and it'll be based on a whole host of factors, but also weather. We've got to decide where our weather best weather. Estaba saliendo mi voz en el como un eco en el video. And still meet our entry conditions. So those are the three big decision gates: November 30th, December 5th, and December 8th. In the meantime, the mission continues to proceed as we had planned, and the ground systems, our operations teams, and the Orion spacecraft continue to exceed expectations, and we continue to learn along the way about this new deep spacecraft. In terms of the mission management team, since the last time I spoke with you, we did meet on Saturday, November the 19th, which was flight day 4. We had a 2-hour decisional meeting, which the decision was whether or not to commit to the distant retrograde orbit. The vehicle systems were very clean. Está haciendo una historia de cuando habló la última vez con la prensa. Difference from what we expected the vehicle to perform, but none of those were constraints to committing to the distant retrograde orbit. So fue 2 horas antes de hacer, fue hoy, 2 horas antes de hacer el encendido motor para entrar en la órbita de retrógrada. We did also on Saturday discuss 2 special topics, which I'll elaborate here in a few minutes. And the first was the Space Launch Systems post-launch performance report, as well as the Exploration Ground Systems post-launch performance report. We did not meet on Sunday, November the 20th, largely because things are going really well. And I think the fact that we didn't meet on Sunday is a great sign. We also worked some feedback from the media and from the team on keeping and improving the flow of information and expediting imagery, and that I hope you're seeing some improvements along the way, but we did hear the feedback and we are working on that. Today we met as a mission management team for 1 hour, and nos reunimos 1 hora el sistema de administración.
We discussed the results of the outbound powered flyby. We talked
Discutir
about a exterior
los resultados. Y hicimos una inspección exterior de la nave usando las cámaras que están en los paneles solares y no identificamos ningún problema. Todavía tienen 2 equipos de resolución de fallas, por lo que hablamos el problema del software del rastreador estelar y el problema en un panel solar. Creo que ninguna de ellas son problemas para la misión. Those are the decision gates that we have ahead of us, as well as the recent activities with the mission management team. In terms of the post-launch performance summary that we had with the Space Launch System rocket, I will simply say that the results were eye-watering. The rocket performed and/or exceeded expectations. El cohete se ha comportado y hemos revisado todo y se ha comportado tal cual como esperábamos o mejor todavía.
The day of launch, we had the solid boosters. They had a propellant bulk temperature of 77 degrees, which is well within the mid-range. It wasn't
La temperatura de los boosters el día del despegue estuvieron en el promedio de las temperaturas esperadas,
The boosters performed as planned and as
así que
predicted.
funcionaron tal cual como estaban predecidas, igual la etapa principal. Y la altitud de inserción le erramos por 3 millas náuticas.
The core stage engine shutdown missed by 7 feet per second, which is simply remarkable. That is well
Le erró por 7 minutos, 7 pies de altura, hemos pagado la etapa principal, los RC-25.
In terms of the translunar injection as well as the disposal. The RL-10 engine
No cambié, está saliendo, yo estoy monitorizando y sale bien.
for the duration
Rosa,
of the
F5.
translunar injection burn. It is the longest firing in the history of the RL-10 program at 18 minutes.
Bueno, y lo último, el encendido motor del RL-10, dice, fue el encendido más largo en la historia de ese tipo de motor, que estuvo perfecto.
To the flight of crew. All of the separation events, again, were as designed and as predicted. So, again, we had eye-watering performance of the Space Launch System rocket. In terms of the exploration ground systems performance, we did go
El sistema de tierra, dice, de lo que va a hablar ahora,
to the activities at the launch pad and the mobile launcher and the pad itself. We reviewed all of those items. We do have some images here for you. First and foremost, the kindler and gentler loading operation that we learned out of the prior launch attempts performed as expected. The team operation was great as well, and we successfully executed the load there. The software for the Launch Control Center and the handover of the command and control, again, met all of our expectations. The ignition overpressure and sound suppression system to dampen the acoustic shock and keep the deck of the mobile launcher protected from the flames of the Space Launch System as it lifted off.
este es el resultado del lanzamiento. Las protecciones, o sea, el agua ha funcionado, pero igual de todas maneras vemos cómo se ha comido el fuego las cosas, ¿no?
If we could roll the video of the drone footage of the mobile launcher, this is essentially a top-down look of the entire mobile launcher, and this is the side that faces the rocket as it lifted off. You can see all the umbilicals in the retracted position, and we will go all the way down to the deck of the mobile launcher here. And, we do have a little bit of discoloration simply from the heat of the rocket.
Hemos tenido un poco de descoloración en las cosas, en los cordones umbilicales, pero están bien. Acá estamos viendo imágenes de la plataforma. Y estamos prontos con algunas cosas pequeñas que hay que hacer para hacer el Artemis 2. Y el daño que vimos, algún par de áreas. Las puertas de los ascensores y del deck, que es esto, el deck que es esto del sistema móvil. And the water sound suppression system to keep the deck protected. You can see here that the water sound suppression did a great job with the exception of right around the edges of the flame trench. El equipo de la parte de agua hizo muy buen trabajo, exceptuando algunas pequeñas cosas. La pintura o cosas estándar.
That are in the foreground on the right. Our launch director, Charlie Blackwell Thompson, says she walked into the tail service mast umbilicals and they were pristine inside.
Si se les ocurre algo, me lo dicen y lo pregunto.
And all of the close-up activities
Me parece muy buena la pregunta que leí recién. Si hubiera sido tripulado, hubiera salido todo bien.
Right now, we had the world's most powerful rocket, and the pressure basically blow the doors off of our elevators. This is why it took a little longer.
David, esta pregunta del Gateway está buena, pero no es para esta gente. Ellos lo que están haciendo, hablando sobre esta misión Artemis. Artemis 1. Esta es la puerta del ascensor. Esto es lo que rompió la llama.
You can see again the heat of the boosters scorching the camera. The camera housing survived, but it just goes to show the environment there on the zero deck is not the friendliest when you have the world's
Y esto también, esto es lo que está viendo una cámara. Ha quemado cables. La llama, ¿no?
The only items that are noteworthy of damage are the ones that I've shown you there. We did have 2 cameras out. We also did have some damage to pneumatic lines associated with gaseous nitrogen and gaseous helium, and that in turn caused the oxygen sensors on the pad to show that there were low oxygen readings until we got the leaks in the pneumatic lines isolated, which is why it took a little longer to gain access out of the pad. In terms of, did we find any flight?
Tuvieron demoras en poder entrar porque no había suficiente nivel de oxígeno después del despegue.
The first was the booster throat plug material, which is purposefully expelled from the throat of each booster at liftoff when the boosters ignite. And we did find that in the pad perimeter. We did need a little bit of time to map that out. That is a very normal thing, finding the blue.
Dice, bueno, hay restos de la quema de material sólido, de la quema en el booster, que se genera al momento del despegue, y es muy normal eso, pero tenemos que limpiarlo, dice, ¿no? En el sitio.
Overall, again, a very clean system. The exploration ground systems exceeded our performance. We did have a little bit of damage.
La performance ha excedido lo que esperábamos.
Artemis 2, and we had accounted for that.
Hablando del sistema de soporte de tierra.
Replan and our budget for the time between Artemis 1 and 2. Let's see, and then if we could pull up some additional images of the optical navigation sensor, we have been testing.
Más imágenes del sistema de navegación. Los sensores del sistema de navegación.
Sensor on board Orion, and then the next image, I believe, is of the moon from the optical navigation sensor.
Y después la luna desde el sistema óptico de navegación. Que estamos adelantados con lo que estamos viendo, atención. La última imagen que le voy a mostrar.
The administrator released the image of Snoopy. He is in the lower center, floating near the empty seat, and we've highlighted him here. So that is our zero-G indicator, Snoopy. Again, we're proud to have him on board as a symbol of flight safety. I personally am wearing my silver Snoopy that I received here, because this is not just about fly hardware. This is about,
bueno, hablando de Snoopy también, que estaba ahí bloqueado.
As we can, given the hostile environment
Aquí está.
that we're flying into.
Aquí está Snoopy.
And we take this very seriously. Flight safety for our astronauts is paramount. So with that, we've gone through a lot of materials in the last couple of days, and happy to talk more about those in whatever questions you might have. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Leah.
Thanks, Mike. And I will pass it over to our Artemis 1 Ascent and Entry Flight Director, Judd Freeling.
All right. Thanks, Leah. Let's see. So we continue to...
After the tone, please state your name.
Daniel Regueira.
Thank you. Providing translational capability for our orbit adjusts maneuvers. In orbit outbound trajectory corrections 1, 2, and 3, we successfully exercised the OMS engine and then the RCS, or the reaction control system engines, to provide translational thrust. And then,
Jeff es el director de vuelo del Centro Espacial Houston, de Johnson.
Great story there. Leading up then to this morning, we had outbound flight, as was mentioned. That was the largest burn, as Mike mentioned, to date at about 586 foot per second. Is about a 2.5 minute burn on the backside of the moon that successfully started our entry into the distant retrograde orbit. So it's a part of a 2-burn sequence. The second sequence is going to be the DRO, or direct DRO insertion burn that is going to be on Friday. Let's see. Roll a video. We had some great video leading up to our
Tenemos un video, dice.
flight, and we were able to live stream that. This is absolutely amazing to me.
Dice que es un video increíble.
Kind of setting towards the moon that's in sunlight there. I came in this morning and was just stunned at watching this video. Right, I think we have the other video of Earthrise as well. Do we have that one?
Bueno.
On the backside? Nope, we don't. On the backside, we had a good Earthrise as well. The moon, however, was not in sun, so we just saw.
Este video es la puesta de tierra, o sea, tendría que ser un atardecer de la Tierra, ¿no?
That was a really good, interesting way to view the Earthrise. Let's see. I think we have another picture here of the trajectory that we took as we went across the moon's surface. So the first one kind of gives an overview picture of the trajectory. Here we go. And as you can see, the sun's kind of behind the moon in this case, and so it makes the front side of the moon that's facing Earth in darkness. This is a representation of how where we did the outbound power flight maneuver. That was we're approximately 328 statute miles above the Earth when we performed that burn. As you can see, these are the sites of all of the Apollo missions and where they actually landed. So I'll show you the next slide, please. Shows you as we get a little bit closer. You can see
esto es cuando pasaron por atrás de la Luna, quedaron sin comunicación, sobrevolaron el sitio del Apolo 11, del Mar de la Tranquilidad y Apolo 14.
We don't have that. Okay. So shortly after that point, we actually went directly over the Apollo 11 landing site, and we were about 1,300 statute miles above that. Obviously, we were in darkness at the time, so we weren't able to get pictures of that. But
dice, en la oscuridad no podríamos hacer fotos.
The moon is expected, the Earth-facing part of the moon is expected to be in sun, and so we're working a plan to see if we can get pictures of those Apollo landing sites as we're flying by.
Cuando hagamos la próxima pasada va a estar con luz, así que vamos a poder hacer fotos. No hemos tenido suficiente ancho de banda para poder bajar todos los videos de lo que hicimos hoy.
And so we're kind of probing and seeing how far we can press those bandwidth limitations. And it turns out prior to that we were able to be able to live stream. So from this point forward, that's going to be one of our priorities. When we have the bandwidth available, we'll go ahead and live stream video from Orion whenever we're not doing CIT payloads or Callisto payload events, or other actions where we need the higher bandwidth. And so I think, Leah, we've got a Ustream website that we'll be putting that, and so that'll be available on the web.
Vamos a poner los videos en un sitio, Ustream se llama en la plataforma.
Additionally, I would say in the interest of how long it takes to get data down.
Y se estamos probando el sistema y vamos a tener una idea luego de cuánto nos lleva hacer la descarga, ¿no? Tenemos 1 giga de datos.
But in the Deep Space Network, the data rates that we're experiencing on Orion to get that same gigabit of data originally took us 90 minutes.
Originalmente nos lleva 90 minutos 1 giga.
The tests that we've been doing and trying to help that bandwidth problem, we've gotten that down now to about 45 minutes to get that 1 gigabyte of data.
Teóricamente son 45 minutos.
We've got lots and lots of data to get down. Obviously, that high resolution data and video takes a long time to downlink. So, but we're doing our best we can, and we'll continue to download those as we can. I'll also mention, in the interest, Mike showed the pictures of the OpNav pictures of both the Earth and the Moon. That has now been certified, so it's actually a nav source now we can use. If we were to lose communications with the Orion spacecraft, it would automatically use that as a nav source to navigate back home with all of the pre-planned commands that we put on board. So that's a good news story. I'll tell you, also in the vein of the performance of the vehicle,
Magali, muchas gracias.
From the propellant budget, we're doing really well. We've used over 3,700 pounds of prop to date, which is about 76 pounds less than we expected from pre-flight predictions. And it's also about 2,100 pounds above what we require for the end of mission, and that translates into about 560 some odd foot per second available to us above what we need for the mission. So that's a really good news story.
Jonathan Pereira,
the DRO insertion burn is going to
muy
happen
buena
on
tu pregunta, pero
Friday.
sí, se puede iluminar sin drama.
Big burn, not quite as big as the OPF maneuver, the outbound powered flyby maneuver. That's going to come in around 362 foot per second. So that's all I have for now. So Leah, I'll hand it back to you.
Thanks, Judd, and I will turn it over to Howard Hugh, Orion Program Manager.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I think Mike and Judd stolen some of my thunder, but the vehicle continues to operate exceptionally. We have seen really good performance across the board on
Dice,
all
el
our
vehículo
systems.
funciona perfecto,
And,
dice, ¿no?
really happy with the performance, and today was a terrific day. We started early in the morning, and they're getting ready for the OPF, and we saw tremendous performance coming out of that. I'll just put a finer point on what Judd said earlier. We were expecting a 585 or 589 foot per second on that OPF burn, and we did it in 585.9. So really great performance of the prop system and continued.
Howard Hugh es el administrador del programa Orión.
Propulsive elements, the main engine, our auxiliary engines, and RCS across the various correction burns and the OPF, and they've all performed very well on the overall prop system.
Y los propulsores de Orión han funcionado todos bien.
And regulated the propulsive elements really excellently. So we're very happy with that. Overall, like I said, our performance continues to be going very well. Another point I think we discussed, my colleague discussed at the last briefing, we're generating a lot of power. We're generating over 22.32% more power than we had planned out of the solar arrays.
Estamos generando 22% más de energía con los paneles solares de lo que suponíamos.
The power system, great performance there, along with the prop system. And I would say that, Judd also said about our OpNav, that's a really a backup case where we lose permanent, or we have loss of comm with the ground. Our overall navigation system is performing as expected and really well, and we're getting obviously good ground inputs on our state updates for the nav system, and we expect that to continue as well. Let's see. Finally, I would say that all the images you saw and all the videos, and Judd talked a little bit about increase and learning about how much to push on in terms of performance on DSN. It took, I would thank the flight control team, and our engineering team. They did a great job last night of trying to figure out how we can best position ourselves to get all these great images and great videos that we've seen throughout the day and what you've seen today, and really thank the team, because I think the team has done tremendous
En
work.
realidad no estoy agregando nada.
The highlights of what the mission images and
Está agradeciendo al team, al equipo, y los videos que hemos visto y las imágenes han sido increíbles.
So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Leah.
Thanks, Howard. And a live view now inside the White Flight Control Room here in Mission Control Houston of those teams working around the clock all the way through splashdown. So we're going to open it up for question and answer at this time. If you are on the phone and would like to ask a question, please press star 1 to raise your hand and star 2 to withdraw your question if it has already been asked. I also ask that you please state your name and affiliation as well as to whom your question is directed, and please limit to one question at a time. That way we can address everyone and potentially get to some follow-ups afterward. So we can start here in the room.
Thank you. Mark Carreau with Aviation Week and Space Technology. My question's for Judd. We've heard a lot about the flight hardware, the launch control team. I'm just wondering about the flight control team. Do you think they're learning a lot, or how would you describe what they're learning and how that plays forward with Artemis?
¿Qué han aprendido con Artemis?
So you're absolutely right. Not only is this flight about learning about the hardware, but it's also learning about how the humans interact with the hardware. And I would say we absolutely are learning a lot about, just the few examples that I gave.
Estamos aprendiendo muchísimo.
How much off predict.
Este es Eric Berger de Ars Technica.
Ways can you optimize performance of the vehicle? How do we do the burns in an efficient manner? What do we do to prep the navigation system for them? So it's all kinds of things that we learn that you just can't simulate, because our simulators are only as good as what we thought and predicted pre-flight, and so now we're getting a really good opportunity to kind of anchor.
Bueno, estamos teniendo una muy buena oportunidad para aprender realmente sobre el sistema, ¿no?
Okay. Another here in the room.
Gina Sinceri, ABC News for Howard. Last week after launch, you said you dreamed of this since you were a little kid. Is it living up to your expectations?
Above and beyond. I would say, I was telling somebody
Ha salido todo lo que esperaban, dice sí, más allá de lo que esperábamos. Por encima.
Fabulous. I want to hear the information that's coming from the spacecraft, learning about the spacecraft, and being excited about what we're doing, and it's just been phenomenal. I've got a big smile every day. I just see people and I'm smiling, and it's just been terrific. Thank you.
Eric Berger with Ars Technica. I think a lot of us share that excitement too, Howard. Question for you and then one for Mike. First of all, you said you did an exterior survey. I know MMOD was a concern on this flight. Were you able to get any data on that? It sounds like it looked pretty clean. And then for Mike on the EGS question, you've got plenty of time to work on this for Artemis 2, but in the future you'd like to increase cadence. So are there steps you can take to sort of mitigate the damage that occurred to the mobile launch tower from this flight to sort of...
¿Qué es lo que se puede llegar a hacer para mitigar el daño que ha recibido la torre en el despegue, ¿no?
So Mike mentioned our engineering team did a full look at the entire spacecraft with the images we got from our solar array cameras and cleared it. No MMOD damage that they could see, and so I think it was an exhaustive analysis that the team went through already, and they actually cleared us for re-entry. So it was a really good set of work by the team. Of course, they'll continue to look and investigate if they see anything else from the images, but so far it looks really good from our surveys.
Esto es todo lo que hemos visto hasta ahora, de acuerdo a lo que hemos revisado. Está perfecto. No sé si me equivoco, pero el Orión se acoplará a la Gateway, sí. Y de allí bajará a la Luna con la Starship modificada, también sí. David Amengol, sí. El rendimiento del cohete por encima de sus expectativas podría llegar a ser peligroso cuando se lance el SL tripulado. No fue por encima. O sea, el rendimiento en realidad no fue por encima. Por lo que entendí, quedaron a nada, 7 pies, son 20 metros y 3 millas, es nada. Eso se regula con la potencia. Creo que en realidad estaban al revés, quedaban por debajo, me parece.
We took from this launch. We are still going through some of the findings and seeing what those mean. The umbilicals and the hydrogen leaks are certainly a key focus area, and some of the software automation in the Launch Control Center are key focus areas.
Estamos a 3 horas 38 minutos del lanzamiento de SpaceX, Eutelsat 10B. Eso es lo que muestra el contador.
One quick question for Mike Seraphin. Based on your data review, if you had astronauts on board for this flight, would anything have changed so far? In other words, are the funnies and things like that you've seen,
Bueno,
would they have been sufficient
prácticamente
to press ahead today, or
están haciendo la pregunta que alguien había dicho, ¿no? De si hubiera astronautas a bordo.
Bill, thank you for the question.
Pero en realidad está hablando de las cosas del sistema de traqueo de estrellas.
On this uncrewed test flight, we had a lean forward strategy in terms of whether we would proceed or accept risk at a decision gate. So that is a tough question relative to measuring against the criteria we've established here on this flight. But that said, in terms of overall system failures, we haven't seen a single thing on the rocket or on the spacecraft that would have caused us to question our reliability or our redundancy, which is why this has largely been a nominal mission. We've proceeded through all these decision gates. We've got some just overall operational and systems lessons learned, as Howard had talked and as Judd has alluded to. There have been a number of things where our plans and our predicts didn't quite match what we thought from an engineering and from a modeling standpoint. We will in turn roll that into crewed flight, but overall it's been largely a green light flight in terms of the decision gates, and that is a very positive thing. I would just keep in mind that that's in the context of this uncrewed test flight where we do have this lean forward strategy.
Up next on the phone, we have Andrea Leinfelder with the Houston Chronicle.
Hi, thanks for taking the question. So my question is for Judd. I want to know more about the mood and mission control. It's been 50 years since we've had a spacecraft built for humans this close to the moon. And now that we're getting these images back, what's the mood like? And how are you reacting to these images, particularly since they are so similar to the Earthrise one from Apollo? Thank you.
¿Cómo reaccionaron con las imágenes que no son similares a las que vimos con el Apolo?
At least the folks that are in the viewing rooms around the flight controllers is giddy. People are just amazed, right? As for the flight controllers themselves, they're absolutely astounded as well. That these great videos that they're enabling to get from
Yo cenando
the Orion spacecraft as
y
well
mirando a
as
Dani, dice Made, buen provecho,
they're just
buena
happy
cena.
that all of the hard work and dedication that they've spent for years, many years, is really paying dividends. I'd say everybody's in a great mood.
Can I jump in on that?
Absolutely.
I'll say that from an engineering team and our program perspective, we had a lot of people in a conference room, and we're like kids. As soon as the pictures came up, people were taking pictures of what was on the screen.
A medida que venían las fotos, dice, parecíamos niños tomándole fotos a la foto, dice, en la sala de control.
On our contractor teams and across in both engineering and flight operations, and it's a tremendous day. And so you'll see, you said giddy, I'd say, just big smiles and just like a kid in a candy store, I would say, just how happy we are.
Dice, parecíamos chicos en una tienda de caramelos.
Irene Klotz with Aviation Week.
Thanks very much for the briefing, and thank you, Mike, for your efforts to sharpen comms. It's appreciated. I have three quick questions. One is, do you have the name, this may be for Judd, do you have the nearest named site on the moon's backside that was closest to Orion's point of the closest it came during the flyby, and the speed of Orion when it passed over?
El punto más cercano en la luna, ¿cómo se llama cuando hizo la pasada con el encendido del motor?
The name of the closest site when we were at
No, no lo tengo ese nombre, dice.
We can get Irene that afterwards. And as far as, I didn't understand your question about the Apollo 11 site.
How fast was Orion moving when it went over the Apollo?
¿Qué tan alto estaban
And then my other one
del
is,
sitio del
how
Apolo?
much time was there a comms? How much time was Orion out of comms in all?
So we were out of comm for about 34 minutes.
¿Cuánto tiempo tuvieron sin comunicación? 34 minutos.
Let's see, when we were over OPF, we were going about 5,023 miles per hour, and then of course we picked up speed after that.
Thanks.
All right, up next on phone we have Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press.
Yes, hi. Probably for Mike.
¿Van a hacer un simulacro de lunizaje o solo orbitar? No sé, ahora es esto, orbitan y vuelven. Y el próximo es igual, solo que con astronautas, la Artemis 2.
There's still priorities ahead, namely splashdown. But since it's going so smoothly so far in flight, is there any breath of relief from you yet? Are you reveling in any of this yourself? I mean,
Si quieren foto de buena calidad en Flickr, busquen NASA. Hay un montón.
We are on flight day 6 of a 26-day mission, so I would give it a cautiously optimistic A+. We've got, again, we're largely complete with the first leg. We're entering the second leg, and then we got the return leg. And our capstone objective, the second half of our priority 1 objective, demonstrate the spacecraft at lunar reentry conditions is realized on landing and splashdown day and reentry day, as well as priority 3, which is splashdown and recovery of the vehicle. So for me, I said it on launch day, there's relief that we're underway, but there's a heightened sense of awareness that we've got this mission underway, and we've got the Artemis spacecraft in play, and this is again a risk buy down for crewed flight. So we're taking it very seriously. I will rest well on December 11th after splashdown and recovery is complete. As will these
Voy
gentlemen.
a dormir bien el día que, después que sea el splashdown, dice, después que aterrice en el océano.
I tend to just stay focused and continue to do that as long as necessary here. So that's where I'm at.
Next up, we have David Curley with the Discovery Channel.
Thank you very much, Mike Surfin.
Discovery Channel.
You talked about a couple of issues that concern you. What is the most concerning? And by the way, I'd like to second Irene's point that thank you for trying to give us more. And secondly, the flyover of Tranquility Base, I know you're, I don't understand all the ways we're going to see images. When will we see those images?
¿Cuándo vamos a ver las imágenes del sobrevuelo de los sitios Apolo en el mar de la tranquilidad?
You mentioned that there were a couple things that have popped up that have you concerned. I mean, I think we're all hearing that you guys feel really great about the way the mission is going, but you've had a couple of funnies that concern you even in space. Is there an issue that is particularly concerning to you?
De los dos problemas que tienen, ¿hay algo que le preocupe de eso?
In terms of concerns, you know, they are low level in terms of we don't fully understand what
lo que pasa es que realmente no entendemos por qué está comportándose así el sistema, pero tenemos redundancias. Y tenemos 2 equipos de resolución de fallas trabajando.
On the Orion spacecraft, we've got 8 of these, and for some reason, they're being uncommanded, open, and we don't understand why. They are a inline power feed from the solar arrays to the spacecraft. Because of the level of redundancy, there's if I recall, Howard, there's 3 feeds into each of these two feeds into the PDCUs, but the way that they're matrixed from the 4 solar array wings, there's plenty of redundancy there. We just don't understand why these things are being uncommanded open. But that said, the team is recovering from them, so that they're working their way through an anomaly resolution team and an anomaly resolution process, just to understand again what the hardware is telling us. The other one pertains to the star trackers. They have random access memory, and they are getting bits set in them that we have to recover with a power cycle, and the most likely cause of that is simply a single event upset associated with a radiation hit. We've had a number of those. The team has had to power cycle the star trackers, and they've recovered every time. Again, we're trying to understand what the hardware is telling us in the anomaly resolution team process for both of those issues. I again don't think that this is a high-level concern, and I guess I'll ask Howard for any additional thoughts on those.
¿Recuperaron la señal de Orión? Sí, claro. 34 minutos después de que se perdió detrás de la Luna, tal cual como estaba previsto.
When a random access memory bit gets set, it automatically corrects it. So it's working, it's operating just fine. What's happening is it tells us, it sets a bit that says, hey, I did have to do this error detection and correction, which is very standard in a lot of processors that require to go to deep space. So it triggers that, hey, some event happened, they fixed it, box is performing nominally, outputting very good navigation data. It just tells us that. And when we reset it, it's just more for resetting that trigger that says, hey, I had an event which I had to do an error correction. So it's not so much the box has an issue and we have to reset the box to get performance out of it. It's more along the lines of indicated there was a problem, the box did its job, it changed, or it...
Está diciendo que, bueno, tienen que hacer un reinicio del box de la caja para poder utilizar, pero que funciona bien.
Actually, our other organizations or other programs, we talked a lot about them. A lot of people have seen similar events with their star trackers. And that expertise and
David Amengol, es muy posible que sí, que sea así como decís.
We're collecting that information and reflecting that with our data that we've got. So certainly great data in terms of operating environment that is in deep space and that radiation environment. And good to know that other programs have seen something similar. We'll try to match that up with our experience base and our data, and we'll have a good information for the MMT coming up.
Will we see tranquility?
Yeah. I'm confident that the team is going to work through this and understand what the hardware is telling us. And then in terms of the flyover, the Apollo 11, Judd, do you want to take that one?
I'll take that. So since this first OPF maneuver was planned for the Earth-facing side of the moon to be in darkness, we didn't have any plans really to try to image. But we will plan to try and image those sites when we do the return power flyby, which will be on the 5th of December. And so probably take us a day or two to get that imagery back.
All right, up next on the phone, we have Robert Perlman with Collect Space.
Thanks. A question for Mike or Judd. Can you just review what does the mission benefit from a lunar distant retrograde orbit versus doing something like...
¿Cuál es la ventaja de tener en una órbita de estas retrógrada?
I've heard 80 miles and 81 miles for the closest approach. Is that just a rounding, or what was the exact mileage for the closest approach today?
¿Cuánto fue la aproximación más cercana? Dice 81 millas.
Yeah, so the closest approach we had to the moon was 70.51 nautical miles, which translates into 81 statute miles.
And Robert, thank you for the question about the benefit of the distant retrograde orbit. If you look at the systems that we are testing with the Orion spacecraft, the distant retrograde orbit serves as a purposeful stress test of the overall system in terms of large propulsive maneuvers. To enter a lunar orbit and exit a lunar orbit, we know we need 2 maneuvers, so we're performing 2 large maneuvers. In terms of stressing the navigation and communication system, we are going to fly at its farthest point about 268,000 miles from Earth on this mission. So if you go back to that mission map that I showed you, point 11 on that racetrack is 268,000 miles from Earth.
Dice, la idea de esta órbita retrógrada es que vamos a testear al máximo la nave y los sistemas de propulsión y navegación y la comunicación y los sistemas de traqueo de estrellas.
As well as a signal strength and communications system on board the Orion spacecraft. So if you're looking at the corners of the boxes in terms of the power and communications and thermal and nav and all the systems, the distant retrograde
cambiaron la gente que estaba.
A great mission to stress the system and buy down that risk and
está puesto en la descripción del video quién es la gente que está.
Hi, everyone. Sorry to harp on the images, but since I probably deal with live TV and live images more than most on this call, I've got a few questions on that. One, I just want to be crystal clear. Are we done seeing high-res images and video of the close pass of the moon, like the 80 miles off the surface? We're not going to see anything more of that tonight or in the next few days until December 5th when it comes back. That's question number one.
No vamos a ver más nada. Dice que lo que ya vimos, no va a haber nuevas imágenes.
It takes more time to get these high-res images down, but are you guys seeing live videos in the control room?
¿Ustedes vieron algún otro video en vivo en la sala de control que nosotros no vimos?
Now and at other times, I guess, why not share, even if it is low res and not the greatest quality, why not just put that all out there for everyone to see so that, fans of Artemis can follow along live and in real time? Thank you.
All right, thanks for the question, Kristen. So as far as this morning, the images, again, so at the closest approach, the moon facing the Earth part was in darkness, so we don't expect to
Alex, no tenemos el enlace, por favor, de los lanzamientos espaciales en YouTube. Le queremos recomendar. No tenemos imágenes de calidad porque estaba oscuro, dice la parte del mar de tranquilidad. En unos pocos días vamos a pasar ahí con luz y la vamos a tener.
Images of the Apollo 11 site, and again, during return power flyby, we expect the Earth-facing part of the moon to be in sunlight.
Fue la mejor imagen que vimos, la Tierra ocultándose detrás de la Luna. Esto pasa por acá y se oculta, está increíble.
We did not expect to be able to see live stream video at the same time we're doing all of our file downlinks. And so this was something new that we just learned a day or two ago that we would be able to do. And so as soon as we were able to downlink live stream video of somewhat low res quality, still as you see from the video that we put out on NASA TV, it was still pretty spectacular. But now that is going to be the new normal. We will live stream camera data because we have now figured out that we have the ability to do that and downlink all of our data in high-res resolution data at the same time. So we will put that, and I think they put a website out here where you can go ahead and view that live stream data all the time. So as soon as we have data that we're streaming, we'll send it out to the web so you guys can see it.
Cuando tengamos las imágenes las vamos a poner en la web para que las puedan ver todos.
What we saw today during the outbound powered flyby and the close approach to the moon. As I was leaving the Mission Control Center to head over here today, I'm walking down the hall and I had somebody grab me and say, "Hey, Mike, you need to see this." and they walked me up to a computer, and it was our imagery integration team, and they showed me 4 images of the Orion spacecraft with the solar array wingtip, its service module in the foreground, and then very high resolution images of the moon where it's getting larger and larger and larger, and you could see the curvature of the trajectory, and as the spacecraft approached the moon, and you could see individual surface features on the moon, craters and just little contours. That was as I was headed over here, and that is yet to come. So we've got a lot more. We just need to get it off the spacecraft, and then we need to get it through the compliance processes and then the distribution process here on the ground. So there's really
no me da nada.
it's recorded on board. If it is not broadcast in real time, and then once it gets to the ground, it is archived, number one, and then it's distributed, and then we go through a screening process here, and then it hits the street for folks to view. So just be patient with us as we go through those processes. There is much more to come. It may have been yesterday's news, but when we get it to the ground, we get it distributed, it'll be the first time everybody sees those images, and I can't wait to see more of what we've captured.
I'm excited to say it is today's news. Those are live. Those are live online. Those images that you were just discussing with Orion and the moon as it approached the outbound power flyby burn. You can find those on our Johnson Space Center Flickr account as well as on images.nasa.gov. But on Flickr, there is an entire album dedicated to Artemis 1. We are uploading those as quickly as we get them. We love to see them too. And additionally, with that live link that's going to be available, there will be some intermittent periods where we don't have views from the spacecraft, but it is a great opportunity to take a look and see what Orion is seeing for itself. Additionally, we're working on a different link that'll be a little bit easier to find too. So just wanted
Dice que van a poner unos enlaces nuevos.
Our next question is from Daniel Regaria from Ardroni.
How you doing? Congratulations, first of all. It was amazing to see today your live streaming. The question is, if there were people on board, if there were astronauts on board of Orion, everything went okay on this flight, like to fly around the moon. I'm talking about G-forces, environmental things like temperature, pressure, all things. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, I did not follow the question. Could you try to repeat the question?
Oh, yes. Imagine you can put right now astronauts on board of Orion. Was everything okay to fly on this first flight of Orion? Like temperature, pressure, environmental things like G-forces on the launch, all of this trip.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Daniel. So you're asking if people were flying on board, what were the cabin conditions be like in terms of temperature, pressure, and G-forces? We certainly, from the launch phase all the way through the separation events, it was what we anticipated in terms of G-forces and going through the launch phase. Towards the tail end of the launch profile, the rocket did go into a 3G throttling profile, so that was the maximum amount of force that we saw on the acceleration. And then in flight, we have a shirt sleeve cabin environment. It's in the 70-ish degree range, maybe a little bit warmer than that. And then when we come home, the capsule is expected through the direct skip reentry to see a peak set of G-forces in the 4.5 times the force of gravity range. So in terms of humans' ability to fly on the vehicle based on the data that we've seen thus far, all signs point to, yes, we're on a good path to do that. And Judd, if you have anything to add to that one.
Nope. I would say also, since this is an uncrewed mission, we don't have the environmental control system that we would have on Artemis 2, and of course, Artemis 2 is going to be that's going to be one of the huge objectives is to test out that environmental control system, to condition all of the atmosphere in Orion. So, but all that being said, the pressure is going to be 1 atmosphere-ish around 14.7 psi, I think, and similar to what you would have, as Mike said, is a short-sleeve environment.
Howard, anything to add to that? Yeah, I'll just the picture popped up a little, just a second ago or so. We've got Moonican Campos, we've got accelerometers on the Moonican. I mean, that's one of the things we're measuring as well as we experience all the flight phases, and certainly very important as we land with the crew capsule and make sure we're measuring and understand the environment that the crew would be in, besides obviously the shirt sleeve environment and the temperatures that we would experience.
Yes, so that's a great point, Howard. The response that I gave you, Daniel, was based on the telemeter data that's coming to the ground, based on what the rocket and the spacecraft are telling us. But we actually have witness sensors on board the spacecraft from the perspective of where an astronaut would sit through Moonican Campos and some of the other Moonicans that we have on board.
Thank you.
That information posted.
Thank you all.
And we have time for one last question. This is Micah Maidenberg with the Wall Street Journal.
Hey, all. Thanks for making time. Not sure who this would go to, but I was just curious about Callisto, the tech demo on board. Any initial indications about how it's performing or
Hicimos la pregunta. Vamos a repetir esta parte ahora después sobre el final, porque estaba escuchando, por eso no traduje. Los tres contestaron una parte de la pregunta que hicimos, que fue si hubiéramos puesto astronautas a bordo, estarían bien, cómo lo hubieran llevado con la fuerza G y con las temperaturas y la presión y todo lo que hay en la cabina. Estoy escuchando un poquito esto y ahora lo hacemos, ahora hacemos la traducción.
All right, that's all the time we have for questions this afternoon. Thank you again to all of our briefers for joining us, all of you for asking questions. Our next live coverage will be of the distant retrograde insertion maneuver. That's Friday, November 25th.
Bueno, el 25 en la tarde, de tardecito, de noche, vamos a tener el nuevo encendido de motores para terminar de ingresar en la órbita retrógrada. Así que terminaron. Vamos a repetir un poco esto. Justamente desde Thank you all. Thank you. Have a good day. Bueno, acabo de cortar la llamada. Vamos así ahora a repetir un poquito, a repetir la pregunta que hicimos. Quiero ver si podemos traducirla.
And video takes a long time to downlink. So, but we're doing our best we can, and we'll.
Bye. And the speed of Orion.
Take the mileage, and I'll handle the DRO. Jim.
Yeah. So.
Broadcast and.
Images.nasa.gov, but on Flickr there is we're working on a different link that'll be a little bit easier to find too. So just wanted to give it to you as soon as we had it. Our next question is from Daniel Regaria from Ardroni.
Eso soy yo.
How you doing? Congratulations, first of all. It was amazing to see today your live streaming. The question is, if there were people on board, if there were
gente a bordo, si hay gente a bordo de la nave, si todo salió bien en el vuelo para volar alrededor de la Luna, estoy hablando de las fuerzas G, las cosas ambientales como presión, temperatura, etcétera, ¿no? No entendieron. No entendí la pregunta. Dicen, en mi voz, quizás. ¿Puedes repetir? ¿Puedes repetir? Imagínate que puedes poner astronautas ahora a bordo de Orión. ¿Está todo ok para volar allí? Como el soporte de vuelo, temperatura, presión, cosas experimentales como la fuerza G en el lanzamiento. todo el viaje? Gracias por la pregunta. Sí, sí. Bueno, si la gente arriba de la cabina dice hubiera tenido todo bien. Desde el lado del lanzamiento hasta los eventos de separación que hemos anticipado, en términos de fuerza G, todo ha seguido el perfil de vuelo 3G que le pusimos como máximo, y es lo máximo que vimos en la aceleración. En vuelo, en el rango de los 70 grados Fahrenheit, ¿no? Y cuando volvamos, en la reentrada vamos a ver un pico. ¿Cuánta G dijo? A ver, no me lo perdí. To see a peak set of G-forces in the 4.5 times the force of gravity range. So 4.5 de fuerza G, pico. Basados en los datos que vimos, estamos en el muy buen camino para hacerlo, ¿no? Y yo diría que esta es una misión no tripulada, no tenemos un sistema ambiental en esto. Esto va a ser un objetivo del vuelo 2, ¿no? El sistema de control ambiental, para condicionar la atmósfera a bordo de Orión. Dicho todo eso, la presión va a ser una atmósfera, 14, 17 libras.
Howard, anything to add to that?
Yeah, just the picture popped up just a
la foto que vimos,
so, we've got Munikin Campos, we've got accelerometers on Munikin. I mean, that's one of the things,
el maniquín tiene acelerómetros y estamos midiendo todo en toda la fase de vuelos, y es muy importante para medirlo justamente y ver qué es lo que siente la tripulación, las temperaturas y todo lo demás. Es un buen punto, dice, ¿no? La respuesta que te doy, Daniel, basado en los datos telemétricos que tenemos, tenemos los testigos sentados allí, o sea, el maniquín, el Munikin. Así que es lo que tenemos a bordo, y vamos a tener esa información después del vuelo. Bueno, la verdad que genial la pregunta esa, que no recuerdo quién fue que la hizo en el chat. Quizá la modifique un poquito para agregarle un poco más de color, ¿no? Pero creo que la respondieron increíblemente, fue espectacular. Paso a leer los últimos mensajes y bueno, nos vamos, ¿no? Nos vamos. Tenemos en muy pocas horas, vamos a colocarlo acá a ver, o quiero ver cuánto tenemos. 3 horas 5 minutos, o sea, vamos a empezar antes, ¿no? 2 horas 40 para el lanzamiento de Eutelsat 10B en un cohete de SpaceX. Lo vamos a transmitir en directo. Sé que en Europa es tarde, pero bueno, si están por allí, nos vamos a ver. Últimos mensajes. A Aldo saludaba, Aldo Bella, ¿qué tal? Gracias por estar acá. ¿Cómo va la voz? Bueno, ya a esta hora del día, después de haber hecho un streaming temprano y andar todo en la vuelta, ya con poca. Y se viene un directo más, así que me van a escuchar menos todavía. Preguntarle si sabe español, que cambie el idioma. ¿A quién? Coral, no entiendo. Bueno, de repente me perdí de algo de lo que están hablando. Dejen su like. Gracias, Dani, dice David Mengol. Un abrazo enorme, enorme, enorme. Tenía algo que habían puesto acá, al final no anda el enlace ese que nos dieron. Si a alguien le anda, lo dejo acá por las dudas, como NASA, me hacen saber en Discord o lo ponen en el chat de Discord, porque yo no pude correrlo. No falta música acá, ¿no? Ahí está, ahora sí. Me voy contento con ustedes y con la música. Un abrazo enorme, nos vemos en 2 horas y media, un poquito más. Chau, gracias. Teletransportame, Scotty, por favor, a cenar ya.